Here we go, guys. Call to order the regular meeting of the Nashoba Regional School Committee tonight at 6 p.m. on December 4th. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. You can join me if you care to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, guys. First matter is public comment, and I'm not seeing anybody here for that. So we will move on. Our next matter of business is to enter into executive session, and I'll turn to Amy for a motion.
I move to go into an executive session at 6 o'clock p.m. pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, world language grievance. Executive session A, to include the school committee, Superintendent Kirk Downing, Assistant Superintendent Laura Friend, Director of Human Resources Jessica Murdoch, Kevin Peaveny, Mike Tollefson, and Cecilia Sullivan.
And pause for a moment, please. That is the motion which Laura Friend would be included on as well. She's tied on to the second one.
And is that okay?
Yeah,
She was listed on the first one too.
but it is here.
Oh, yeah, she is. Assistant Superintendent?
Excuse me,
You're
I
okay.
missed it. Yeah.
Okay, keep going. I further move pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Seal of Biliteracy MOU Ratification, Custodian Differential MOU Ratification. Executive session B, to include the school committee, Superintendent Kirk Downing, Assistant Superintendent Laura Friend, Director of Human Resources Jessica Murdoch.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand.
Roll call.
Oh, we need roll call, I'm sorry. So let's go around the table. Jeff? Yes. Connor?
Yes.
Sharon? Yes. Myself, yes. Amy? Tom? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Amy Vessel?
Yes.
Robin? Yes. Scott?
Yes.
Lindsay? Yes. Hi, John.
Hello.
Will you say yes? To go into executive session?
Yes.
Ah. Very good. It's unanimous. So here we are into executive session.
Ryan, how are you?
All right, everybody, so we are now back in regular session of the Nashoba Regional School Committee meeting. And we're going to pick up our agenda where we left off, and that is with the consent agenda. So I'll turn to Amy for a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda of December 4th, 2024.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, very good. That was certainly quick. Moving on now to the next item is the chair. Great job, policy subcommittee, by the way. Thank you for keeping that train rolling. We really do appreciate you guys.
Oh, can I just say?
No,
We have several coming.
you can say nothing.
Next
no.
meeting. Next, so just a heads up. You might
They're
wanna-
ready.
This train keeps rolling. All right, good. So chairperson update. I don't have anything specific outside of the agenda, so we'll keep going to our favorite part, the student representative report. So Ava and Ryan are here, so go ahead, guys.
So this week, winter sports tryouts started. We had a very successful Fall Wolf Day on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving break, and we had the pie or teacher event, which was really fun. And we did win the food drive competition against Clinton. We collected 1,700 pounds of dry and canned goods to wheat, which is really exciting. DECA mock competition is being held in the auditorium tomorrow, and the winter concert is next Wednesday.
Myself and I believe it is 7 other students at Nashoba are going, starting with Florence Sawyer. We're talking to 8th graders just about like what high school is and the different opportunities there. Then we're going to the other middle schools. But so we talked about it at our last meeting. We went to the Mazar delegate assembly. So I thought I was going to tell you guys like how our day went, just like a little bit about what we learned. So Abe and I got there in the morning, and we were sitting with 3 girls from North Andover, and then a couple from Wellesley, and 1 from Shepherd Hill, I think. So kind of all over. So the day started. They just told us a little bit of, about kind of what they were as a group of people. And so the founder, his name is Sean. He organized this thing by just what they talked about is how they reach out to all the schools to find their representatives. So they said they email superintendents, they go on YouTube and actually watch some of the meetings, and then go on their website, see what kind of names they can get. And their kind of main purpose is just to expand the voice of student, like Abe and I, student representatives, and connect them among schools to better them as a whole. So that's what they kind of told us about. They wrote a bill that they're working with a congresswoman. It's for students to have a vote in the school committee. So that's it's a long process they're telling us, but they're in the works of that. So after kind of an introduction, we broke up into different workshops. We got put into groups, I think 10 or something like that, 4 different workshops. The first one was communicating and networking, so that what I kind of just said, where they reach out to different superintendents just to kind of get everyone connected to each other. And then we talked a little bit about turning ideas into action and how you can kind of go forward with that, which is really helpful. There's a kid from Framingham who was speaking there, talked a little bit about budgeting and school funding, that how that works and what kind of role we can work to play on that. And then diversity, equity, and inclusion, just kind of how you can promote that in the school setting is our role. We broke up, had lunch, and then answered any kind of questions, and then the executive board just shared a few words. It was students, college students, who were a part of this kind of program years before. So they kind of told us about that.
Great.
Yeah.
So thanks, guys, for representing us at that conference. I hope you guys made some good networking opportunities.
Yes, we did. I plan on running for the e-board for it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so
Good luck.
hopefully I get it.
That's great.
Fantastic. So any questions or comments from the committee or our superintendent?
We're going to get to put some of this advocacy to action in January when we get launched up. So I know I'm going to be planning that with Dr. Boynton here in the coming weeks. So looking forward to you guys putting to work some of the things you learned from that workshop.
Yes, we will.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee? I know that Amy is also, did you want to just mention quickly how you're forging ahead with?
I think that's what
We did that
Superintendent
last month.
Downing was,
I thought you were talking about your advisory
No,
council.
this is when the group will be going to work with the
Yeah,
student
so-
council and our reps and things like that.
Excellent.
yeah, I can, well, yeah, the communication subcommittee and the school committee is going to be working with the superintendent to reach out to the student council and come up with a kind of a plan to meet every other month or on a schedule that we can agree to, so we can start to build on some of the things that you've learned at that conference.
Okay.
Kind of open up the channels of communication and kind of give you more opportunity to bring student voice to our conversations and our votes.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait.
When is our the student council
Advisory
going to meet
council.
again? The advisory council?
The advisory group with Dr. Boynton and I.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Dr. Boynton.
Okay.
Yeah, our goals before the break.
Okay.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic, guys. Thanks for being here as always. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So we're going to move on to our superintendent's report, and Kirk will light it up with some announcements.
You bet. I'm going to go a little bit out of order, as we have 3 items to bring to you, 2 of which I've asked Assistant Superintendent and Front to bring. But I want to talk to you a little bit about and give you a legislative update. As I've shared with you before, I serve on the legislative committee for the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents. And right now we're developing our advocacy platform with the governor's office and state officials for what is coming up is going to be a very trying budget season for the entire state. We have some challenges in front of us. We know that OSD has set increases for out-of-school, for private school tuition-based programs at a 3.62% increase, and third quarter net revenue of the state indicates that the Chapter 70 increase looks like it's going to be around 1.91%. So our ability to fund is not matching what increased costs are based upon some of those inflation rates that the state is setting their reimbursement, their state aid on. As well, we have to look at the circuit breaker reimbursement for special education costs as well as special education transportation reimbursement. And so we've begun conversations with DESE, but really we have to get into the ears of our legislators, the governor's office, about how to get increases in that aid. It was our position last year, and it will continue to be that support be increased from a 75% reimbursement level to a 90% reimbursement level, so that we can start closing the gap on these tremendous costs that go to programs that are very much needed for the students who receive them. And I think that's the key component that is lost in some of the conversation that we see, particularly articles in the Globe, that public schools or superintendents don't want money funneled to those schools. It's like, that's not it at all. It's how do we create statewide structures where the funding sources are going to back up the increases that are allowed, because what ends up happening is those increases that are allowed and approved by the state end up being paid for locally. So state decisions are being made where local funding is necessary to execute programming for our students. And so this is a lot of important work that we're going to be doing. So I'm glad to be doing that work through MASS this year. I will be coming back to this group throughout the season to give you opportunities to chime in your voice, send your letters, to advocate for how we can advance some of the bills that we're putting our energy behind to hopefully change some of these state funding formulas. We've begun a task force around shifting the Chapter 70 calculation process entirely. Chapter 70 is a formula that benefits many, and it does not benefit many. And so depending on where you sit on that spectrum of benefit reflects your support of what that formula is right now. And I will have to say rural and regional districts don't benefit as much as urban areas do out of Chapter 70 funding. Chapter 70 is there to help level funding in a way where state money is going to places that can't afford it as much as other arenas. But we all know that with Prop 2.5 and other constructs that we have in the budgeting process, sometimes it makes it very, very difficult for us to advance budgets. So these are complex issues. I'll be bringing them back to the committee and pointing you in the direction of where you can put your advocacy when those times come. Okay, with that, I am going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent to give you a NEASC update, as well as talk a little bit about digital report cards.
Yeah, just two brief updates. The first being an update around NEASC, which has just begun at the high school. The high school is really at the beginning stages of the process, which is a 2-year process, and they are engaged in a self-reflection process right now. The first phase includes reviewing and unpacking the new standards for accreditation, which are hyperlinked in the report, collecting evidence and artifacts towards this standard, thinking about strengths and areas of growth, completing staff surveys, family surveys, student surveys, and then taking all of that information to complete the self-reflection report and determine ratings based on the standards, sharing the ratings with the faculty and staff at the high school, engaging with them and allowing them to have input in the ratings. And then this spring, we'll welcome the collaborative conference visit, which will include classroom observations, reading the self-reflection report and ratings, meeting with various stakeholders, and examining student work. samples. So the high school team and Dr. Boynton and has two teams engaged in the process right now, the steering committee and a self-reflection committee, and they are knee-deep in the work right now. As we look ahead to the collaborative conference in the spring, the dates of which are April 30th and May 1st, that will include a tour of the building, classroom visits, a meeting with the self-reflection committee, a meeting with students, teachers, parents in separate groups, school council, meeting with central office administrators, building administrators, department heads, and then support staff. So it's involved. What happens after the collaborative conference? The visiting team provides feedback about the self-reflection in a report, which includes recommendations for the school growth improvement plan, which Dr. Boynton will work on and will be shared with this committee. The visiting school creates the school growth improvement plan based on the outcomes from the self-reflection report and feedback from the collaborative conference visit this spring. The visiting school implements, so the plan will be implemented and then revisited in preparation for the decennial visit in the spring of 2027. In speaking with Dr. Boynton and her team, we would, with permission, like to provide the committee with an update, a more robust update after the report is generated and the self-reflection process has completed prior to the collaborative conference visit in April and or after the visit in April or May.
I'm personally looking forward to pointing back to the last time we went through accreditation, and they cited their concerns about the physical plant, and that we now have
The
a
answer?
great plan for addressing their concerns around the physical plant. So.
Want to maybe go to questions around the desk first? Chandra.
So I'm, for maybe obvious reasons, more familiar with the private school version of this accreditation. Is this only for the high school? The rest of the district doesn't get accredited? Okay. And the second thing is, does the school committee have any role in the process of the accreditation?
I would need to seek input and guidance on that. I do know, in speaking with Dr. Boynton, I did ask her what the role of the school committee was, and she said we prepare the plan, we present the plan, and so the committee will be apprised of the ongoings of the process as we work through it. So they're brought into the communication of the process and the output from the process.
Awesome. Thanks for clarifying.
I think that one of the standards is community relations, right? One of the new standards. So my understanding is that the school committee may be needed for, I know that the last time we did it, school committee members weighed in and were asked questions. So it's possible.
Okay.
I'll let you know. Any other questions about the NEASC update or the legislative piece? All right, we have one more piece.
Yes, an exciting one. Not that NEASC is not exciting. But in an effort to improve our K-8 report card delivery, we are moving to digital document delivery through PowerSchool for our K-8 report cards this trimester. Of note, we're shifting the date for distribution back 2 days from December 16th to December 18th to give our teachers time to engage with the new process, have time to write comments, have time for our building leaders to work with our teachers on it. So I will be pointing to that change in the comment this Friday about the change in date for our families at large. Principals will be providing information to families about what to look for. They're going to provide a sample email to parents so they know what the email looks like and what the directions are. It's very simple, and so we'll ask our families to be on the lookout for that email from principals, to not delete the email, but to be aware of the email. What I'm particularly excited about this move, not only does it reduce the need to print all of the report cards multiple times, particularly when changes are made in the process, but it also ensures universal access to the report cards, particularly for our middle school families where we were opening up our school parent access. Parents were having to navigate through that, find the comments, find the standards. This will be in one document, so easy to read a report card. Any family who wishes to visit a copy of the report cards and simply email the principal or the administrative assistant in the office, and we'd be happy to send home a printed copy of the report card for families.
Wonderful.
This is a good move.
And it's just for middle school at this point?
K to 8.
Oh, K to 8.
K to 8.
And I guess my question is, do you imagine it growing up into the high school as well?
We can let our imaginations run wild.
Okay.
So,
The comments are the piece that I always find very difficult to find.
yeah, we've been focusing on K to 8, but we would certainly be in discussions with them.
Okay. Any other questions? Gotcha.
Is there still going to be asked that the parents sign something and return, acknowledging that they've seen
In
it?
an envelope?
Not necessarily in an envelope, but just like the handshake that says, yes, I saw this.
That's great feedback. We have not engaged in that process at the middle level since we just opened up Power School Parent Access. I think communication for families, in multiple formats so that they're aware the report cards are coming and how to access them will be critical. We do not have a mechanism established now at this point. It looks like the superintendent would like
I
to.
can just tell you from personal experience, when we made this shift when I was a principal in another district, we actually found out that our parents, through the electric distribution, were more informed because we didn't have to put it in the hands of the courier to get to their hands at home, that they got it direct in their inbox. So actually the number of parents that were knowledgeable of those report cards increased as a result of it without having a signature return.
More on that topic?
Well, I guess my question is prompted because in the high school they do have just the digital report cards. And it is, and I will own that I am an older parent with younger, or my youngest is the only one still receiving it, so maybe it's not as important to me to see it as a parent of a younger child. But it is difficult to know when those report cards are coming out and then find them and get all of the information that is there. And so I'm just thinking about making sure that people have knowledge, that they know to look for it.
Yes.
And that the other pieces I think are already spoken for.
Yeah.
In terms
The
of being able
messaging
to
will
find
be
it.
key. K to 8. It will be December 18th. I'm working with Kathy Leonardi on defining the time frame, so it will be explicit, between 2 and 4, for example, on December 18th. So that will be on the lookout for that communication in the comment, and then in the follow-up communication with our building principals as well.
Anything more on that topic?
Yeah, just that I hope Power School has analytics on who's accessing it and that someone is looking at it to make sure that this practice is equitable and everyone is able to receive the grade reports. I will say my general experience has always been fewer grade reports seem to get lost when they don't be physical objects, but hopefully everyone can access them.
But just to riff off what Sharon was saying, I think that envelope, as archaic as it was, it told the teacher that somebody had put eyes on it and signed it. And so without that envelope, thank goodness it no longer is going to exist, but like we need a way to make sure that parents, and I know conferences happen and all of that, and teachers are getting in touch if children are struggling, but it was just one more safety valve. Anything else? All right, everybody, let's keep it going past the superintendent's report. Thank you guys for that. To new business, and we're very excited to bring our friend George Forgiani is coming to the table for the robotics vote. Hello, sir.
Hello.
What can we do for you today?
Well, I mean, we are having our preliminary approval for possible trip to Houston for the robotics team, World Championship. We have to qualify. Don't know if we will, but here we are.
So in your packet is the information that Mr. Forgiani submitted to you. For new committee members, the reason why we asked Mr. Forgiani, and you will also see Mr. A come in, Andreopolis around DECA, is because they go through these tournaments and it's a quick turnaround to go to the next place after they qualify. And what we discovered is that we didn't have the committee meetings in place in between those moments to get the approvals done for travel. So we do this preemptively now to get ready for that moment.
So why don't we make, because we are needing a vote tonight, this is something that we do year after year after year, so it's nothing new to the committee. I feel comfortable making a motion voting on this evening. And so I'm going to allow Amy to make a motion, and then you guys can decide what you want to do.
I move to approve the travel request for the NRHS robotics team to travel to FRC World Championship in Houston, Texas on April 15th through the 20th, 2025, contingent on team qualifying.
I'll second that. What discussion do we have, if any? Other than the celebration of this amazing program. So thank you so much for organizing and pulling it together once again. We really rely on this as a great experience for our kids. Anything else? All right, guys, all those in favor? That was easy. Where's my button?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck. Appreciate it. All right, everybody, keep it on going here. We're going to talk next about another opportunity for our kids, and that is the FSS outdoor classroom, and Joel's going to help us understand more.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. Tonight I'm seeking your approval for 2 overlapping overnight trips to outdoor classroom, formerly Nature's Classroom, in Ocean Park, Maine. Florence Sawyer School traditionally had held a trip for our 7th graders for their experience. You may recall, as a district, we decided to move that trip district-wide to our 5th grade. As a result, we now have a cohort of students, our current 5th graders and our current 6th graders, that will not have had an opportunity for the experience. So I met with several of our parents in this cohort, and we decided that we would plan some kind of experience for our current 5th and 6th graders. The result of that work is the request before you now. It would be an overlapping trip for 5th grade on March 24th, 25th, and 26th at Ocean Park, Nature's Classroom, now Outdoor Classroom, Ocean Park, which is in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, Orchard Park, Maine, near Old Orchard Beach. And then the 6th graders would attend in the same week, the 26th, 27th, and 28th. The benefit of and the luck that we had in being able to find Ocean Park is that that is also the site that our 5th graders in the following year would go to. So it would be a common experience.
Any clarifying questions, Scott?
So did 7th graders go last year?
Mm-hmm.
And so the students that are 7th graders this year, when did they go?
We had Nature on Wheels for this experience for our current 7th graders, which is, it's essentially the same experience, but they come to you. It was a program that they developed during the pandemic.
Any other questions?
I assume there's some accommodation for families that can't afford the $325.
Yes. Yep. I've spoken with our PTO, and we will ensure that everyone has the assistance they need. We don't want to exclude anyone for financial reasons ever.
Any other questions before we move? All right, Amy.
I move to approve the travel request for the Florence Sawyer Outdoor Classroom Field Trip for 5th grade on March 24th through the 26th, 2025, and 6th grade on March 26th through the 28th, 2025 to Ocean Park, Maine.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Yeah.
I'm really so glad to hear that those kids are going to get to go to Ocean Park. It is just a fabulous location with so much, there's just so many opportunities at that location. So I'm really pleased that Orchard Park is the place.
And to double down on that is I wanted to thank Mr. Bates for gathering together a group of parents that were very interested in understanding what to do for that gap, to solve that gap. And I am especially grateful to that group of parents for coming together to do some planning on that as we're doing this sort of in short order to do that, and we're going to have some great experiences for kids. So well done.
Amy, you guys stole my thunder. That's really what I wanted to say. Thank you for pulling this together so quickly so that we can make sure that the kids get that common experience.
We're looking forward to it.
It's been such a milestone.
You're welcome to strike my comments from the minutes.
No.
If you're so
But let me put my annual asterisk on this that I look forward to this extending out to the other middle schools as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day.
Well, this is going forward.
Yeah.
They're all going to do it. This is going to be great.
Yes, thank you
Well,
guys.
not middle
Fifth
school.
grade. He'll be fifth grade.
Elementary.
Well, elementary school.
Oh,
excuse me.
right.
All right, guys, so no further discussion? All those in favor? All right, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Principal Bates.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on, we have excited to bring forward our Director of Student Services. And we're going to hear some entry findings. I'll let Kirk introduce and get it queued up.
That's great. So I want to reintroduce the committee. Ms. Ryan DeMann, she's here. She attends our school committee meetings. Our Director of Student Services here in Nashoba. In our entry processes, this committee has been accustomed to at the beginning of the year, you have to get a plan of entry findings, and then typically April-ish, May, we come back. What are those findings so that the administrator can move forward with the work? We accelerated that process in the Student Services Office, and for good reason. We know this was going to be a critical process to go through as we prepare for the upcoming budget season. Special education services are critically important for us to meet our mission of educating each and every child to the greatest of our abilities. Both those that attend our schools or that we look for outside placements for to educate our students. And that being so, I asked Ms. DeMange to accelerate the process to present this evening so we can prepare our minds for the upcoming season and understand the work that we have to do. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. DeMange.
Thank you, Superintendent Downing, Madam Chair, school committee members. I'm really excited to be sitting here. I can't actually believe that it's December. It's flown by with a lot of great work. I do have to say, coming in, you never know how you're going to be welcomed and how much information you're going to be able to gather in a short period of time. But the staff and the families around Nashoba are so open and welcoming. I've had a lot of phone calls, meetings. I've had people just approach me with ideas. So this work actually has been really exciting, and I've been able to get up to speed pretty quickly. There's still a lot of work and things I need to learn, and I will continue to learn through my entire time here because it's ever evolving. I did write up a formal plan of findings that you have in your packet, but today I'm just going to go over the highlights, and then if you have questions for me, I can answer as we move forward. So, Lita. So my intended goals and outcomes, this is a student services department, so it not only focuses on special education, but it also looks at the 504 process with the district. I also oversee guidance and the social work structure across the district. Families are a huge part of especially the special education process, so that really, I took a hard lens at that to really focus in on how that's working for Nashoba families and really professional development needs. And I will be working closely with Assistant Superintendent Friend on creating the SEL structure for the MTSS handbook that already exists in the district. So I'm going to go through each one of the goals. Really, special education takes up a majority of the department's focus and time. As you know, it's very complex, and currently right now in Nashoba we have about 650 students that have active IEPs throughout the district that are being serviced. And that includes in-district, out-of-district students. What I did notice, and this came right to my attention through our team chairs, that there's some differences among the schools on how either they're presenting information or parents are gathering information out of the team meetings. So we agreed as a group that we're going to start a manual so that we can really look and focus in on when a parent comes into a meeting, they have the same expectation across the district. They have the same level of being able to communicate and what is the outcome of the meeting. Also, when they leave the meeting, they have a very clear idea about what was discussed at the meeting and then what next steps are going to be happening. So we're going to create a manual to really make sure that's solidly in place for families and what to expect, which will also create, which is lower down on the list of next steps, really creating a district student services website that's more friendly so that parents could access those documents prior to meetings, and really being more clear about what to expect at meetings, especially with the new IEP. So we also have the new IEP rollout. So that's, you want to make sure that everybody has a clear vision of what that looks like. The other thing is creating a transparent monitoring system. So are our timelines being met? We shouldn't be waiting until we have a chaired focused monitoring time for us to really review that. Should just be an ongoing process. So I will be creating systems with our team chairs and myself doing record reviews to make sure we're on track with our timelines and making sure we're staying in compliance. I will continue. This is my first budget season, so I am continuing to work with the cabinet on creating a budget for this year and looking at the staff structures based on the IEPs, student needs, and making some recommendations. So those will be further coming along with the budget season. I will continue to look at preschool programming and how that's being implemented. As you know, a lot of our students' services for preschool are really driven by the IEP process. So if we see more students coming in with higher needs, we may need to make some more additional recommendations. I talked about the district website, and the other thing that came up was, and this will be on the website, is our in-district programs. So we have several in-district programs that I gave you a brief summary of in the district, and those are really driven by student need, and they are housed across the district. We currently have teams across the district working on a better description of those, because that has been a request of families to have more information and be more transparent about where those programs are located and what student that really services and supports, and what supports are added to that program. So we will be making that more clear and posting that on the website as well. Alita, goal number 2. So this is really the 504 process and procedures. It really is, looks more simple, but sometimes it can be very complicated. The district really hasn't had a central oversight on this. So really where it needs to start is with a clear process for how 504s are run, and training to the staff that are involved with that. And with that comes an identification of a clear 504 coordinator within each building, so that we're posting that out to the public. They know who to access if they have questions about the 504 process and how meetings are going to run in that realm. We also need to do some cleanup on monitoring and making sure that current active plans are being looked at on an annual basis and updated as needed. So I will be creating that process as well. Alita? Thank you. So guidance. So I've had a few meetings on the half days, and this is really an area where I want to focus not only with guidance, but along with the MTSS SEL model. This is the group that will be doing a lot of that work and helping with this. But they have expressed that they would like to be able to sit together as a colleague and a group to really discuss what practices they want to engage in that are more relevant to the Mass School Association of Guidance Counselors, and really determined what best practices they can engage in. And that would be any type of counseling support. Maybe we'll want to look at a curriculum. We might want to look at additional professional development. They are a very busy group because they're constantly engaged in any type of matter that comes before them any given day. So a student can come in completely dysregulated. They may have had counseling or group work that day, and that's out the window for them. So they'd like some strategies on how to better manage some of that and get kids back on task more quickly and back into the classroom. So they've expressed some of that, especially at our elementary level. And so we will do some work as a collective group to come up with better strategies and give them more professional development and a greater voice. Goal number 4. So I've had the opportunity to meet with the CPAC leadership twice. I also ran a parent training group around the new IEP, which offered a lot of feedback about their experiences with Nashoba. Some are very positive. I will say the most positive thing is their teachers. They all have great things to say about the general education teachers, special education teachers. There was a lot of feedback about communication, about the IEP process and how the IEP is developed and their voice in that IEP process. So I'm working with the CPAC. Their goal is to work with me on a parent handbook because they'd like to give more information out to families, have greater access to families for some trainings. So we're developing some more trainings. We've already listed some in the Common that have occurred this year and will continue to post in the Common. I will continue to do, we have a team meeting survey that happens at the end of the team meeting process to get parent feedback, and that's a lot of where that information about, well, I was a little bit confused or I felt like it didn't have a voice, and so that will continue to happen. But I will also be sending out a climate survey for special education at the end of the year. So how did the year go? How did your child feel about this past year for their services? And how did you feel as a parent for the services? So we're not just focused on the team's process, we're focused on, how did the service delivery also look in the school? And then we will be updating the website. It really is not parent friendly right now. So we will be handling that this year. I anticipate I'll have more work around this as I move forward and get deeper into some of this work with training. Things will, of course, develop and continue to grow. Lita, goal number 5, sorry. So professional development. This was probably one of the biggest pieces where I heard a lot of feedback from staff. Professional development it's very sacred territory because there's a lot of initiatives that we have to engage in as a district as a whole. Under the Student Services Department, my responsibility really is to look at instructional assistants, special education teachers, speech and language, behavior therapists, and OTs, school psychologists. So it's really making sure there's a very robust professional development plan to meet all their needs and also to look at their sub-needs. So for example, for instructional assistants, they don't all have the same type of job. So they don't want the same blanket training. They want training that's very dedicated to the work that they do every day, whether they're in an inclusive environment in the general ed, or if they're assigned to a program that is servicing students on the spectrum, or who have daily living skills needs. So I'm going to work on a plan to really outline those very explicit professional development needs and identify that, so that next year we can have a nice rollout where everybody gets more choice about what they're going to be engaged in for professional development. The other nice thing that Nashoba has done, and I believe that Assistant Superintendent Friend started this along with some of her work, was a lot of our elementary special education teachers are trained in Orton-Gillingham. They have the basic training, which is it's a 3-day training. But beyond that, which is very unique to Nashoba, is they've been placing them into the practicum for Orton-Gillingham, which is a year-long practicum for training that on multisensory reading instruction, which is really important at our elementary level. My goal is to really make sure that moving forward, we're focused in on making sure that everybody is trained at the elementary and middle school level, and that we keep up with that on a regular basis. So I'll be creating kind of a tracking system to make sure that we're staying on top of that. Alita, goal number 6. So this is a multi-tiered system of support for really tier 2 and tier 3 and the SEL work that when I was hired is part of the focus of the work of the Student Services Department. So there is work, this district has a beautiful MTSS handbook that was started, and it's really a great guide to continue working from. The area of focus now is to start looking at what does social emotional learning look like for Nashoba in that tiered model. So really meeting with the assistant superintendent and creating the groups that will do some work around what SEL instruction looks like across a district. Right now it is instruction or choices are at the building level for some advisories, so there's some great work going on there and we should build on that, but have some consistency around, we have data through Panorama. What are we doing with that data? How does SEL fit into that? What are our needs as a district, and what are we going to propose for more long-term process? So that ultimately encompasses all the work that I'm going to be doing.
Thanks so much for that. We really appreciate that comprehensive.
Yeah, and like I said, it's ongoing work. I hope to come back and give you updates on what the committees and meetings that I'm holding and work that we're doing throughout the year. I'm really excited. Again, there's no lack of, when I reach out to the staff here to say I want to start this, I have many people that are like, I want to be a part of that process, which is just fabulous. So I'm really excited about the work moving forward.
Great. I wonder if the committee has any questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
Sorry, I have to. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I know that I speak as a committee member, but also as a parent, that having full transparency and more information on the website is key. So thank you for this presentation and for sharing this information with our community. I did want to ask 2 questions. One of the things that I know in my own work and in my own experiences in talking with community members, there's a lot of misconceptions around what special education is, the difference between a 504 plan, our district accommodation plan. Do you think that I'm thinking in particular around goal 1 and or goal 4, like around some of that transparency either on the website, or because I'm sure like many other people, you get requests for testing that are not they're based solely on like an outside diagnosis, and there's a lot of misinformation, I think, from people outside of the academic field. So is there any efforts to
Yes,
kind of like
yes.
educate?
Yes, definitely. And that's been coming up a lot as a discussion with our team chairs. They're two very different processes, so we have to be very clear about that. Unfortunately, I think what happens sometimes in that process is if a student is, if a parent wants testing or a team wants testing, we are required to go through that evaluation process. So we go through that evaluation process, and at times, at the end of that process, there's an eligibility sheet with certain questions. And if the first two questions are, does a child have a disability, and the team says no, it kind of drives you to this box on the side that says this child may be eligible for a 504, so that I think that's confusing, and how we're presenting that at teams meetings need to be more clear, because the meeting needs to stop, and if the 504 process is going to move forward, then we have to have a very clear separate process, and that's a piece I'm trying to work out with guidance. There's a clear team for that, and so I can make that very much more clear on the website to divide out the two processes and really what they mean in supporting a child for learning. But yes, that is focus.
The other question I had is, as part of this process, do you think that you would revisit the DCAP and update it?
Yes, when I first came on, Assistant Superintendent Friend said, we're doing the DCAP this year. So yes, January, her and I will be starting the process for the DCAP. I'm actually excited for that work. So yes,
Overdue.
it is overdue. And
What is the DCAP?
oh yes, so it's a district accommodation plan. So really what it is, it's a driving document that says these are all the accommodations that our district teachers, our general education teachers, are going to engage in their classrooms at any given time. So it doesn't need to be a separate IEP process or a 504. These are the things we've committed to. We've trained our staff on them. These are the resources to access them, to see how they might work in your classroom.
So as a follow-up, Amy?
Yeah, I hope that there's going to be actually some education to parents about that.
Yeah.
About the DCAP, because like I know about it because I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
But if I was trying to figure out what that meant, and even looking at this document, which is huge.
Yes.
And how would I even approach, like, okay, I think my kid could use some of these. What is the what do I do? Where do I go from here? And like, what are all these? Like, I don't even, you know what I mean? It's kind of overwhelming. So I hope that there's going to be so I don't know if it's a manual or something that gives some guidance to parents about that.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think, part of updating the plan is also updating how we're going to message that plan out and train our staff on that. So that's a whole process that we have to make sure we put action steps on and do. But I agree with you, yes.
Madam Chairman.
Please.
Madam Chair. Ms. Vessels brings up a great point, and I want to cue us back to our goal around growing our family university concept is, because I know Mr. Manch has talked with the CPAC about that, on how we can bring some more family university events forward that are going to educate them on these types of components that we're capturing here tonight. So we will be doing that.
Great. Any other questions? I just have one quick one. I really appreciate the program that you brought in where parents are given the opportunity to weigh in on the process, the IEP evaluation process, whether it's an initial or a re-eval. I wonder if we could expand that to survey parents who are going through the 504 process. Because if a parent gets kicked to that parallel world, which I've been through a couple of times myself personally, I know that process is just as critical, just as emotional as an IEP meeting can be, and getting that feedback from parents can be really helpful.
Yes, I agree with you.
Great. Yeah?
Can I just, following up on the 504 piece, I think it also would be helpful that piece of teaching or sharing the information about what that means instead, because if a parent is in that process where they have come to an IEP meeting, it's clear that there's something happening, and to be in that position in the IEP meeting where you have a child that is struggling and the answer is no, that your child is not eligible for an IEP, I think that leaves families feeling like they're not heard. And so for families to be able to understand then the IEP is not available for this and this and this reason, and we are offering, or we have this other way to address your needs, I think would be, I think that for parents to understand that would be a really helpful thing, and how that 504 plan is implemented and used by the teachers.
Yes, and that's really where when I look at the 504 process, it's about making sure that the family not only, or the parent understands that process, but understands that we carry that process through just as seriously as we follow through on an IEP. And oftentimes families feel like if it's not an IEP, it's not going to be implemented. So that has to be communicated of how it gets implemented, what the process is around how we convey that information, and updating families on what that looks like in the classroom. How is it going? What is the 504 accommodations happening? So it's really more communication and more transparency about the process. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, a piece I'll add to that as well, Ms. Bach, is we really worked hard with our principals in the past 12 months, and we'll be doing this again as we go through our mid-year updates with them, is when requests come and a parent presents as, hey, my child is struggling, that they have a sit down, let's look at each other, let's look at our eyes, and educates them about the potential outcomes prior to them ever beginning. So that people don't feel like they're not sure what the outcome might be on the other end. So the pathways are clear. So that is something we're growing, not just in the team meeting process itself, but before we even enter it.
Yeah, and to that point, would it be possible to do some level of outreach, I think, in the community? Because I think there is a lot of misperception around a lot of these processes and what it looks like. And not even as going through the process as a parent and having the ability to communicate with the building principal or with a guidance counselor, but like our pediatricians, our area mental health agencies, there's a lot of opportunity that, I think as we know, demands are increasing, and then the expectation is that how are we meeting those needs? So it's really important that it's clear for everybody.
All right, so that has been an education. Thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
Thank you. All right, guys, so the next element on new business is to advance a couple of motions on two memorandums of understanding, or agreement, as we sometimes call them. And this is something that was handled in executive session, and now we are going to bring forth to the public what has occurred. And so we basically are replicating something that was done earlier, and so you can just engage in the same way that you did before. So we'll turn to Amy for a motion on the first MOU that is about the seal of biliteracy.
I move to approve the seal of biliteracy MOU as presented on December 4th, 2024.
I'm going to pause before anybody seconds that. And so, will the MOUs be put into the meeting materials now?
They will be put into the meeting materials. We'll get those finalized up, get all the proper signatures on them, and then yes, we will.
Okay. So thank you, Amy. I'm going to second that. And just as a matter of discussion, this is basically creating a coordinator stipend position for work that is being done, adding this to the contract to be discussed at a later time. So we're going to go around the table and just take.
Do you second?
I second it. Yeah. Unless there's other further discussion. All right. So we'll go around the table. John.
Yes.
And Lindsay. Yes. Scott.
Yes.
Robin. Yes. Amy Vessels.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Amy Cohen. Yes. Myself. Yes. Sharon. Yes. Chandor.
Yes.
And Jackie. Yes. Excellent. So now over to the next MOU. I'll go to Amy.
Yeah, I move to approve the custodian differential MOU as presented on December 4th, 2024.
And I will second that. And just to give a little bit more information, this is to rectify a glitch in the contract that we approved to make sure that the custodial pay is living up to the spirit of the contract language. And it amounts to about 20 cents more per hour per day, or during a certain period of time that the MOU identifies. So, any further discussion? All right, John.
All right, roll calling.
I'm sorry. I think. No.
You can roll call it.
Roll call.
You know what? We can roll call it because we took the vote in the executive session of roll call. So
Yeah, that's what I was
we'll
leaning towards,
replicate
Scott.
it. Yeah.
So let's do it. This is so fun. Go ahead, John. Lindsay.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Robin. Yes. Amy Russell.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Myself. Yes. Sharon. Yes. Chandra.
Yes.
And Jackie. All right, guys. So I think that the next item here, we have no unfinished business, which is shocking. But we can move now to subcommittee advisory reports. Are there any subcommittees that need to share anything with the committee? Nothing new on the building committee front, Joe?
Nothing more than to say that we have our foundation permit, as the members of the building committee know, and that the foundation has been being laid in as we speak. And I do think, I'm just going to say it, I think that a debt of gratitude should be given to Superintendent Downing and our consultants at Skanska and KBA for the diligent work that they did in securing the DEP approval that was a prerequisite to getting the foundation permit. I think the KBA ran up against some scheduling issues with DEP, but I don't know how you did it, and I don't know how you were so quickly to appease the Bolton Board of Health, but Superintendent Downing and the team did it, so we've got a foundation, and we're building a high school.
And this is not public knowledge yet also, but Attorney Gleason, we secure our wastewater application has been accepted.
Oh, it was? Okay.
So
All right.
now we can proceed with that. So water and wastewater are really important to it.
If you really want to know a lot about potable water and wastewater, tune in to click on the Board of Health meeting that we had back a couple months ago.
Okay.
And then I will also share with you, Attorney Gleason, because I received this today, is that Attorney Gleason and I attended the Bolton Planning Board meeting regarding the conditions. And if you recall, Attorney Gleason reported on 2 of the conditions the school district were not in favor of. They did remove those. That was voted on by the planning board. I received that report today. So we can proceed on with activities. I mean, it's going smoothly.
Thank you to the town of Bolton.
Can I just mention what one of those conditions was? I still get a kick out of it. They're asking for sidewalk snow clearance in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So I just get a kick out of that. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So we were not agreeable to clearing the snow in perpetuity.
Well, we're not compelled. We're not obligated to do that.
Not
And
obligated, but we will
Yeah.
always make sure the sidewalks are safe for our students. So.
Great. All right, so thank you. Any other subcommittee or advisory reports? Seeing none. Items for next agenda, you guys can see on the planning calendar there. Our next meeting is, so our next meeting is going to be December 18th. It is the last meeting of the calendar year. There is a big item on there that's required by the regional agreement, and that's the capital plan presentation, 5-year capital plan presentation. So get ready for that awesomeness. And then anything else that's not on here that you guys want to get
Well,
on?
there'll be first readings. There'll be a lot of first readings.
Yeah.
Yes, and discussion.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I should have that feedback for you by then.
Okay.
Excellent. Anything else right now you want to put on there? or consider put in the parking lot. I wanted to just note that in the parking lot, we have a piece about warrant signature protocol. And so if budget and warrant has time, it's not an emergency, we don't have to change what we're currently doing, which is granting the chair of the school committee the authority to sign the warrants. You can leave it like that, budget and warrant, but it might be something that you want to deal with. It's up to you. Anything else?
One thing, and this is basically for our new members, the January 15th budget workshop meeting, just so you have expectations, that's a marathon meeting. So that's a night where we go through all the sectors of the organization and the budget, which is why we don't put any other agenda items that night, but we will have to vote some rates that go along with that. But that, so bring a snack, and we'll just want to let them know.
Yep, that is historically called the budget workshop, and like that was all we did. It was a Saturday from like 8 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. We fortunately don't do that anymore. So, all right, so that's it for our agenda. I'm going to move to adjourn. Sharon got you. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, guys, that's it. That's a wrap.